This week began with the Democrats thinking they had a big gotcha moment. They had a comedian, of course, at President Trump's MSG rally. He made a joke. It was stupid at Puerto Rico's expense. Dumb, dumb, dumb. But he's not running for president, that comedian, the last time I checked. That lasted, by the way, one day. Because then the actual Democrat president of the United States, that would be Joe Biden, and I guess air quotes, rudely insulted half the people in this country, as in MAGA supporters. Joining us now to talk about all of this is Tyler O'Neill, managing editor at the Daily Signal. Tyler, look, what do you think? I mean, did Joe Biden do this to undermine Kamala Harris on purpose? This has now been a few times that he's done stupid stuff like this. Then again, stupid and Biden. I mean, okay. So, look, here's the thing. It seems like that's going on. But then again, his hate for Trump supporters, it's nothing new. I mean, he called those who challenged his COVID policies Neanderthals. Those who oppose federal voting legislation, he called them segregationists. And then, of course, he said MAGA supporters are a threat to the very foundation of the republic. So we have seen this rhetoric from Joe Biden, and yet CBS Evening News, they go there last night, Norah O'Donnell, shame on her, shame on CBS for calling what he said a gaffe and saying it was inadvertent. I mean, that is major gaslighting, lying, and everything else / fake news.
I think it was inadvertent that he let the mask slip. I mean, I think President Biden, we've seen this hatred that the elites have for the everyday American citizens. And by the way, there's good polling to back up that there's a massive gap, a worldview gap, a divide between the elites who think that Americans have too much freedom and actually should have certain things rationed for them. Things like energy, things like gasoline, things like the ability to keep your home cold in the summer and warm in the winter, and of course, rationing of meat. They believe that the climate alarmist narrative is gospel, and therefore they are willing to mandate changes to Americans' lives that will make our lives worse, and they think that this is in our best interest. So this is where the elite and the everyday Americans, who, by the way, most Americans don't think we have too much freedom in this country. Most Americans don't want electricity, meat, and gas to be rationed. And yet those who are in control, especially in the federal government, I mean, you talk about the deep state, and this is the vast administrative bureaucracy makes the majority of the rules that we have to live by in this country. And, you know, there are reports that show that the amount of bills that Congress passes is a lot smaller than the amount of text and pages that the administrative state passes every year. But yeah, I think this massive worldview divide between the elites and the people whom they seek to rule and control is what's behind Biden's gaffe. And it was only a gaffe because it revealed what we already knew he believes. And this isn't new either. I mean, we remember the bitter clingers line from former President Barack Obama. We remember when Hillary Clinton talked about the basket of deplorables. And as you mentioned, we remember Jim Crow 2.0, where Biden said that something like voter ID, which is massively supported by the American people, I think the most recent Pew poll was 86%, that a bill enshrining voter ID in Georgia made Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle, whatever that means. But Biden has continually revealed this elite hatred for mainstream Americans. And that's what we saw earlier this week.
It's amazing that, if Joe Biden said it, it's a gaffe, right? But if some comedian, wait on the line, I believe it was the first speaker. I was there at MSG. I believe that comedian was the first speaker. I personally had never heard of him. But if he said it, somehow that's just exactly the same as if Trump said it. It's not a gaffe if a comedian said, oh, by the way, everything comedians do is make jokes at someone's expense, right? That's kind of what they do. But that's not a gaffe. That's not a joke. That's something Trump absolutely said, according to the media, whereas this is just a gaffe, which they also tried to change in the official transcripts. It looks like nefariously. We'll hear more about that as I think some people are looking into that. But anyway, Tyler, Kamala got a big turnout for her speech on the ellipse in Washington Tuesday. But did her late pivot back to focusing on democracy work. Does anyone just 2 days later even remember anything she had to say? Because really, President Trump took the news cycle again and again and again. He's masterful at this. It's as if he's running against a non-entity. It's like nothing Kamala Harris does gets any traction.
Yeah, well, I think it was brilliant when Trump donned the uniform of a trash truck driver yesterday at his rally. And, he just leaned in and he was saying, like, look, if they're going to call my supporters trash, then I'm going to lean in. And so he does a press conference from the side of a trash truck. He goes to a rally with this orange vest. And this is just after he had donned the uniform of a McDonald's worker and served people at McDonald's to illustrate what he claims is Kamala Harris lying about her record working at McDonald's. Of course, there is still no proof. And you would think that if Harris were serious about this, she would have actually put up or shut up on McDonald's, but she hasn't. So Trump calls her on it. Yeah. And now Trump is calling this, and he's dominating the news cycle. And so Kamala gave this speech, and I watched it and I went through it and fact checked it and saw the lies that she told, particularly on abortion. She was able to rack up 4 or 5 lies in one sentence. And I was just sitting there, flabbergasted.
Yeah.
The gall that she had.
Yeah, but you had to do it. There's no fact checking on the part of the media.
That's right.
Where the fact checking should be. But that's why we appreciate you. Glad to have you on. Tyler O'Neill, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.